Hey everyone! Welcome back to the English Leap podcast, where we help you leap into English fluency with confidence. I'm Erin.
And I'm Evan. If you're new here, this is the podcast where we break down English learning in a fun, practical way, without the boring textbook jargon.
And if you're a returning listener, welcome back. We love having you here, and we appreciate every single one of you tuning in.
Hey Erin, random question. Have you ever met someone who just completely shuts down a conversation?
Oh, you mean the one-word answer people? Yeah, all the time.
It's the worst. Like, you ask them something and they give you absolutely nothing to work with.
Yep, I met one last week. It was painful.
Oh, I need to hear this.
So, I was at a networking event, trying to meet new people. I introduced myself to this guy, and I asked, "What do you do?"
Okay, normal conversation starter. So what did he say?
He just goes, "I'm an engineer."
Okay, fair enough. And then you asked,
I said, "Oh, cool. What kind of projects do you work on?"
and let me guess, he said, just normal stuff.
Bingo. That's exactly what he said.
Oof. Did you try again?
Of course. I asked, "How did you get into the field?" And he just shrugged and said, "I don't know. Just liked computers."
That's it? No story, no details, nothing?
Nothing. And at that point, I was struggling. I tried throwing him conversation lifelines, but he just let them sink. It felt like I was talking to an auto-reply bot.
That is painful. It's like trying to keep a balloon in the air, but every time you hit it up, it just falls straight back down.
I know, right? A good conversation is like a fire. It needs energy from both sides to keep burning. If one person keeps throwing in new logs, but the other just sits there, the fire dies out fast.
That's a great way to put it. And the worst part? When that happens, people think they're just bad at conversations, when really, they just don't know how to keep the fire alive.
That's when it clicked for me. I thought, why not make a podcast episode about how to keep a conversation going? After all, so many people struggle with this, and it's a skill everyone can develop.
Sounds like today's episode is going to be a game changer. So, what are we waiting for? Let's dive in.
But before we get started, let me tell you, we've put together a free PDF with all the key takeaways from today's episode.
It even has a comprehension exercise and a grammar exercise to help you practice. Grab it from the description.
So, Evan, what do you think? What makes conversations die?
Oh, there are quite a few things, but one of the biggest reasons is something called the filtering effect. It happens when people hesitate to speak because they're afraid of saying something wrong or not interesting enough.
It's like their brain has a strict security checkpoint where every thought needs approval before they can say it. And what happens? They overthink so much that they end up saying almost nothing.
Exactly. They become so self-conscious that they start second-guessing every word before they say it. Instead of allowing the conversation to flow, they create an internal bottleneck, which stops them from contributing naturally.
And the irony? The more they hesitate, the more awkward they feel, and the harder it becomes to say anything at all. Their mind becomes paralyzed by fear, and suddenly, the conversation is completely stagnant.
Right. And when conversations become stagnant, the other person might assume they're not interested in talking, when in reality, they're just trapped in their own overthinking.
And then there's social anxiety. Some people get so nervous that their minds just go completely blank. Instead of thinking about what to say next, they start spiraling. Do I sound boring? Do they like me? Until their brain just shuts down entirely.
It's like when you have too many apps running on your phone and suddenly it crashes. Your brain just malfunctions because it's overwhelmed.
Exactly. And because of that anxiety, they end up speaking in a very rigid way. Short, stiff answers that don't leave room for expansion.
And the irony is that they're afraid of seeming boring. But by saying almost nothing, they actually create a monotonous interaction that feels dull for both people.
And finally, some people just aren't really listening. They're either waiting for their turn to speak, or their mind is drifting somewhere else entirely.
It's like trying to play tennis, but instead of watching the ball, you're just thinking about your next shot. By the time the ball actually gets to you, you've got nothing.
Exactly. And because they weren't really paying attention, they miss out on great opportunities to keep the conversation going. They fail to pick up on subtle details that could lead to a more dynamic conversation.
All right, so now that we know why conversations die, let's talk about how to fix it. Here are 3 powerful strategies that will make you a better conversationalist.
The first fix is to remove the filter. Instead of overanalyzing every word before you say it, try speaking more freely.
Easier said than done, though.
I know. But think about little kids. They don't sit there wondering, will this sound cool? They just talk. And that's why their conversations are full of spontaneity. They speak their minds without fear of judgment.
That's true, but most adults, especially in new conversations, become so self-conscious that they hesitate before saying anything.
Exactly. And that hesitation creates a bottleneck in your mind. Instead of letting thoughts flow naturally, you stop them, analyze them, and question if they're good enough. And what happens? You end up saying nothing, or giving the safest, most monotonous response possible.
Right? And ironically, in trying to sound more interesting, people actually make themselves less engaging because they're filtering out their natural personality.
Yes. And here's the thing. Most people aren't judging you as much as you think. They're too busy thinking about themselves, how they sound, how they look, what they should say next. The moment you realize this, you start feeling more at ease.
That's a great point. So, how do you actually remove the filter?
Practice talking without overthinking. Start in low-pressure situations, like chatting with a friend or a coworker about something casual. Instead of pausing to analyze your response, just go with whatever comes naturally.
And if you're really struggling, one trick is to verbalize your thoughts. Instead of filtering yourself, say things like, I was just thinking about, or that reminds me of. That way, you train yourself to keep talking naturally, instead of pausing in self-doubt.
Yes. And a fun way to practice this is to have conversations where your goal is to speak without pausing for at least 30 seconds. Even if it's not perfect, you'll get used to letting words flow instead of stopping yourself.
That's a great exercise. The key takeaway here is, stop aiming for perfection. Just talk. Conversation should be fluid, not rehearsed. All right, the next strategy is one of my favorites, the pratfall effect.
Oh yes, this is a powerful one because it completely flips the way people think about mistakes.
Exactly. So, the pratfall effect is a psychological principle that says people actually find you more likable when you make small mistakes. It makes you seem more authentic and relatable.
Think about it. When someone is too polished, too perfect, they almost feel robotic. You respect them, but you might not feel comfortable around them.
Right. But when someone laughs at themselves, admits they forgot something, or even stumbles over a word, it actually makes them seem human and approachable.
I love using comedians as an example. Have you ever noticed how some of the funniest people intentionally make silly mistakes on stage? They might trip, mispronounce something, or laugh at their own joke, and the audience loves them even more for it.
That's because imperfection makes you relatable. If you're trying too hard to be flawless, people can't connect with you.
And this is huge when it comes to conversations. A lot of people hesitate to speak because they're afraid of saying the wrong thing. But in reality, making little mistakes actually makes conversations flow better.
Exactly. If you mispronounce a word or lose your train of thought, don't panic. Just own it and move on. You can even joke about it, saying something like, "Wow, my brain just completely glitched," makes it lighthearted and keeps the conversation going.
And here's something interesting. If you're learning English, native speakers don't care if you make mistakes. In fact, they admire people who try to communicate, even if it's not perfect.
That's such a good point. When I was learning another language, I used to be so rigid about saying everything perfectly. But the moment I stopped worrying and just spoke naturally, my confidence skyrocketed.
Exactly. So the takeaway here? Stop aiming for perfection. Embrace mistakes. Be real. It'll make you a much better conversationalist. All right. Now for one of the most powerful conversation techniques, threading.
Ooh, I love this one. This is the secret to making conversations flow naturally instead of running into dead ends.
Exactly. Threading is when you take something from what the other person just said and pull on that thread to expand the conversation. Instead of letting the topic die, you use it to create multiple directions to go in.
It's kind of like a spider web. Every conversation has little connections you can build on, but if you don't recognize them, the conversation just stalls.
Right. Let's say someone says, "I went to Italy last summer." If you're not actively listening, you might just say, "Oh, cool." And then what? Dead silence.
Yep, and that's where threading changes everything. Instead of a dead-end response, you can pull multiple threads from that one sentence. Watch this. "Oh, what was your favorite part?" You get them to expand on their experience. "I love Italian food. Did you try anything new?" Now you're talking about food. "I've always wanted to go. What was the most surprising thing about Italy?" Now you're sharing your interest and keeping the conversation mutual.
Exactly. Now, instead of shutting the conversation down, you've opened multiple doors for where it can go.
And the best part? You don't have to force it. If you're genuinely curious, you'll start seeing these natural threads in every conversation.
I actually tried this at a party recently. I was talking to someone who mentioned they had just started playing the guitar. Now, I don't know much about guitars, but instead of saying, "Oh, nice," and moving on, I asked, "What made you want to learn? What's the hardest part so far? Do you have a favorite song you want to play someday?"
And just like that, you turned a basic statement into an engaging conversation.
Yep. And the cool thing is, the more you practice this, the more intuitive it becomes. You start seeing conversation threads everywhere, and you'll never run out of things to say again.
So, the key takeaway? Look for the threads. Ask open-ended questions. Stay curious. That's how you keep a conversation alive.
All right. That was a lot of great information. We've covered how to remove your filter, why embracing imperfection makes you more likable, and how threading keeps conversations alive.
And to make sure you really understand today's episode, let's break down some of the key words we used. Charlotte, take it away.
Hey everyone, it's Charlotte, and I'm here to help you with some of the tricky words from today's episode. Let's go over them. Spontaneity, meaning acting without overthinking or planning. Example, John's spontaneity surprised everyone when he booked a last-minute flight to Paris. Self-conscious, meaning overly aware of how others perceive you. Example, Emma felt self-conscious about wearing glasses in school until she realized no one actually cared. Bottleneck, meaning a blockage that slows things down. Example, traffic was moving smoothly until a car accident created a bottleneck on the highway. Monotonous, meaning dull, repetitive, and lacking variety, making something uninteresting. Example, listening to the same playlist every day made his morning runs feel monotonous. Authentic, meaning genuine or real. Example, her grandmother's old recipe gave the dish an authentic homemade taste. Relatable, meaning easy to connect with or understand. Example, the comedian's jokes were so relatable that the entire audience couldn't stop laughing. Rigid, meaning stiff or not flexible. Example, the company's rigid dress code required employees to wear suits, even in summer. Stalls, meaning comes to a stop or slows down. Example, the project stalls every time they wait for the manager's approval. Mutual, meaning shared by both people. Example, Lisa and Mark ended their relationship on mutual terms, with no hard feelings. Intuitive, meaning natural, easy to understand without effort. Example, the new smartphone's design is so intuitive that even my grandmother learned how to use it in minutes. That's it for today's breakdown. Now back to Aaron and Evan.
Thanks, Charlotte. Those words are super useful, especially if you want to sound more natural in conversations.
Absolutely. And remember, conversation is a skill. The more you practice, the better and more intuitive it becomes.
So, here's your challenge. Next time you're in a conversation, try using one of these 3 strategies. Remove your filter, embrace imperfection, or use threading. See how it changes your interactions.
And if you found today's episode helpful, don't forget, we've put everything into a free PDF with all the key takeaways, plus a comprehension exercise and a grammar exercise to help you practice. You can grab it from the description.
And of course, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who might need it.
That's it for today. Thanks for hanging out with us. See you next time on the English Leap podcast.